this is, we are leading and earning incredible investment.
That's great news. I thought things were going poorly in Michigan. Joining me now to talk about that, Tudor Dixon of the Tudor Dixon podcast, and Kyle Olson. He's the founder of the Midwesterner. Kyle, I didn't know things were going so well in Michigan. I thought there were problems.
Well, what is happening is she's trying to paint this rosy picture as if everything is great, because what she's doing is just throwing government money at it. And if you go back to the pandemic, and we had some of the most crushing lockdowns of the entire country in Michigan because of Gretchen Whitmer. And when she closed restaurants, she wiped out 300,000 restaurant jobs, which with just a stroke of the pen. And now what she's trying to do, she's scrambling, and she wants to make headlines. She wants to create talking points. And so now she's spending hundreds of millions and billions of dollars in some cases to create 5,000, 2,000, just a handful of jobs. It's an upside down way to do economics.
It almost sounds like communism to me. By the way, speaking of Michigan, Democrats have been very clear about their plans for the auto industry. Here they are.
Electric school buses and electric vehicles in general are the future.
By 2030, 50% of the vehicles we make in America will be electric. And by 2035, all vehicles we make in America will be electric.
We think that the future is electric no matter what.
Tudor, everyone knows Michigan's famous for its auto industry. How exactly is it received in a state like Michigan to watch all of our politicians announce they're going to rip that industry up and rebuild it in some cockamamie hippie scheme?
Sure. Well, what you have to remember is that when you do this, you remove the need for a gas-powered engine, obviously. That removes the need for many of our Tier 2 and Tier 3 suppliers, which removes quite a few more jobs from the industry, from the manufacturing market here in the state of Michigan. But also you hear about those electric buses. Well, we are on the receiving end of some of those Proterra buses that went out of business, and now Ann Arbor schools will be dealing with a bunch of million-dollar buses that they can do nothing with because there's no longer a company to serve them and no parts to fix them when they break down, which they do on a regular basis. We also are talking about how great it is to bring these battery factories in, but for some reason in the state of Michigan, we've signed non-disclosure agreements. The governor and the legislature has signed non-disclosure agreements about exactly what these battery companies are going to be doing and producing. And for some reason, they decided to waive all environmental review of these battery companies that are tied to the Chinese Communist Party in China. It is completely outrageous. The people of Michigan are not happy about it. They're not happy to see their jobs go, and they're not happy to see another country come in and buy our farmland.
Okay, they're not happy about it. That's a good thing. But Kyle, I have to ask you about what Tudor just said. They're not happy about it. Yet I'm looking at the last election results. It sure seems like they all voted for it, though.
Well, what's happening is in some of these communities where Whitmer is spending hundreds of millions of dollars to create these mega sites, largely in farmland, in rural communities. It's not like they're looking at Detroit or Kalamazoo or Grand Rapids or areas where there already is the infrastructure and there's vacant industrial areas. They're trying to put these mega sites into rural areas. And so now what's happening in places like Green Township, in Eagle Township, et cetera, there's recall campaigns, because what the local residents are saying is, you township officials, county officials, you aren't listening to us. We don't want this in our community. And when we come to you and ask questions, as Tudor indicated, the township officials have signed non-disclosure agreements, so they can't talk about it. They can't answer questions. It's completely insane. And so what these township officials have done is they brought this on themselves, because the community is saying, well, this could be interesting, but we have questions. We want to know about the ties to the CCP, or what is this going to do to our watershed? And the township says, oh, sorry, we can't talk about that because we have a non-disclosure agreement with the Chinese company.